hello everyone. Welcome to the March edition of Discord Demo Day. I am your host Atish, and I'm happy to have my guest Eelke Kleijn coming in from Rotterdam, Netherlands. I'll introduce Eelke in a second, but if this is your first time tuning into Discord Demo Day, this is basically a live stream where me and my guest, we take submissions from you, producers all around the world, and we review them in real time, give our critique, give our feedback, and hopefully that feedback is valuable to you and can unblock you or help you make some tweaks to help you move forward on your journey. Everyone has their own opinion, of course. So, take all our opinions with a grain of salt. We're just two people providing our own point of view, but hopefully there's some value in there for you. Also, if you like that intro track, I'm really excited about the track I was playing in the countdown. That's the Naveen G remix of Bookwood. I just got the masters back on that yesterday. That's coming out on my label Manjumasi in a few days, and it's a really, really nice EP. There's also FKA Mash remix on there, who just crushed it on a stimming remix a few months ago. But anyway, that's what the countdown music was. And okay, enough about me, enough about Manjumasi. Eelke Kleijn, let's talk about him. First off, really excited to have you on the show. I've been a fan of your music since I think I was going through my Beatport history. I think it was 2013. A Tale of Two Lovers. That track turned me on to you, and I still play it. And everyone was playing it at that time. And then I started following you. And over the years, you've just absolutely been crushing it. You've had releases on massive labels, touching on many different shades of dance music, from Spinnin to Suara, Toolroom, Einmusika, Balance. And but I think most importantly in your world, your label, DAYSlikeNIGHTS, which is primarily focused around your productions. So yeah, it's just been really exciting as a fan of your music, and we've crossed paths a few times over the years at various parties around the world. But mostly, I've been a fan of your work, and I'm just really excited to have you on the show. And thank you for lending your ears to the rest of the world today. Oh, I can't hear you. I cannot hear you now. I heard you when you just signed in. Still can't hear you. No. No. Still can't hear you. The fun of live stream.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Oh, I got you.
I needed to unmute and mute again.
Got it.
So,
That's
I'm here.
The classic technical problem. Restart it or toggle on off. But thanks for being on the show. Thanks for lending your ears. We're all really excited and happy to have you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. That's what I was going to say. And well, likewise, I've been a fan of your music for a long time as well. And it's nice to join up today and then do this stream.
Absolutely. We were kind of two ships passing in the night a couple weekends ago. I was attending the City Fox live show in New York, and you were doing your live set, and we didn't get a chance to say hi, but I was watching you, and it was the first time I've seen you play live, and you were absolutely smashing it. I mean, the crowd was super into it. It sounded great, and someone in the crowd mentioned that you had just started doing your live stream. Your live performance just a few months ago, right?
No, actually, the first time I played live, well, I've played live with a couple of different setups over the last 10 years or so.
Okay. I misheard.
Yeah, like 8 or 9 years ago, I started with an Ableton Live, sort of the basic setup, Ableton Live, controller, and one or two small synths. And I played like that for a little bit, but then I wasn't really happy with that setup, and I stopped playing live for a while.
Oh, okay.
And this current setup with the Pioneer GGS 1000 samplers, the debut was in 2018, I think. But I only play live on average maybe 3 or 4 times a year. So every time feels like the first time, more or less.
Got it. What's the criteria that decides which are the gigs you're going to do live and which are the gigs that you're going to DJ? When do you choose?
I usually try to do the more, like special gigs, I would say. So, for instance, City Fox Live, but also maybe a festival where I get a nice slot or something. I try to keep the DJ sets for the club gigs and then live for either streams or special one-off sort of things, I guess.
And artistically, when you think about, let's use the word, let's say narrative, or the story or the arc you're trying to do with a DJ set versus a live set, how does your mentality, how does your approach change, if at all, when approaching both those performance perspectives?
Well, they are quite different, I think, for me. Like when I DJ, I don't always feel the need to play all of my own music. So I sometimes have DJ sets where I'm not even touching my own music, but it's more that I get into a certain vibe, and I'm looking for tracks that, you know, fit the moment and fit that time, and that's not necessarily my own music. Like I'm not the kind of DJ that plays, you know, 10 tracks an hour of his own stuff. And especially if you do longer sets, I also don't feel like I really have to. Whereas if I play live, of course, you're only playing your own music, which is also nice because it forces me to get creative with everything that I have done, you know, instead of someone else's work. So yeah, I really like them both, although I still get a little bit stressed before live shows, a lot more actually than DJ gigs.
You beat me to my next question. So I was talking to Michelle, Love Over Entropy, and this was last week, and he was telling me that live sets, he also feels that intense amount of stress because, you know, I've never done a live set, so I can't relate to this, but he says as a DJ, you can hide behind others' music, you know, in the performance. So if they love it, okay, cool. If they hate it, well, this is other people's music. But when it's a live set, like, you're really making yourself vulnerable and putting everything of your own on. Does that resonate with you? I see you nodding. Does that?
Yeah, definitely. That's part of it. And also there's just so much more that can go wrong, you know, like not just technically, but also you as an artist playing certain bits live, and there's so much more margin for error. And I do have to say, after Circle last year, I feel like I've had my worst stress. You know, that was a very stressful gig, because Circle's one of the only organizations that really do a live stream. So what you see is what is getting played at that moment, and that was stressful for me. Like beforehand, I was I was not in a happy zone. And I really started to enjoy that when that was finished, actually. But after having done that, I feel like I've beat the worst stress for the live gigs, but it's definitely still more than DJ shows. I actually never get stressed for DJ shows anymore. It's just like second nature, I guess. Yeah.
Excellent. On the topic of DJ gigs and extended ones, I saw you just played Stereo. Was that last weekend or a couple weekends again?
Yeah, that was not this past Saturday, but the one before, so like nine days ago. Yeah, that was a long one. I started at 12 and I finished at 11:30 in the morning.
Excellent.
Yeah, I like those.
Yeah, that's probably for me like top 2, top 3 clubs in the world to play. For those of you who haven't been to Stereo, this is a club in Montreal. There's also a basement Stereo bar, which goes a little bit earlier, but basically it's an after hours club. They don't serve alcohol there. I think the doors open at what, like 2, 1?
Yeah, now they've, after the pandemic, they now open at 12, but it used to be 2 or 3 even.
Yeah, and then they just go as long as the DJ wants, essentially.
Yeah.
And I think what's most interesting to me about that crowd, and it makes sense because they don't sell alcohol there. You know, they'll come in their trainers, they'll come in their sweats, and they're there to dance.
Yeah.
And it's a very, very music focused crowd, and there's a lot of history with that club, and it's an educated crowd. And I find as a DJ, there's very, very few places where there's a crowd that's educated, that is that educated and that into the music. I'm wondering if that, I've just spewed my point of view. I wonder if that resonates with you, or how you find playing there.
No, I completely agree. Like I went online afterwards and I posted something about it, and I think I even said, like, there's almost no other. I don't know what other club to compare it to. You know, of course there's other clubs that have an incredible sound system, for instance, but you don't get to play 12-hour sets, you know, everywhere. And this is a place where, you know, the first crowd will come in at 12 and they'll be there for your opening. But then at 3, when everything else closes, there's a new group coming in. And then even at 6 or 7, there's a group coming in that have slept before, and then they
Yeah.
go at 6 or 7 in the morning, and
All these
they'll stay
waves of
there
energy.
until midday. So it has that sort of 90s rave vibe, like shirts off, and it reminds me of clubbing in the 90s back here in Europe, actually.
How old are you?
14 next year.
Oh wow, awesome.
Yeah.
I guess I'm about the same age, but yeah, I started clubbing a little bit later. But I have heard like what you're saying, what others had said. There's a certain type of special energy that from the older years of raving. Just on a technical note, that Bluetooth feedback came back.
It did.
I wonder maybe every 15 or 20 minutes you might just have to quit the app and restart it again. Because I think that fixed it last time, huh?
Yeah, and now I'm not even on Bluetooth.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so it's not Bluetooth clipping then; it's something else.
Yeah, it's weird. It's
and it usually comes after about 10 or 15 minutes every single time.
Okay, shall I just log in again?
Yeah, I think maybe just log out, log in, and I'll just sing a song and keep the stream busy until you come back.
I'll be back in a second.
Cool. But while Eelke's signing off and signing in, I will take this opportunity. Definitely want this stream to be interactive. I see a question from the audience now. Everyone, you're all welcome to ask questions as we're going through the stream, and for the actual demo submissions. Oh, and here he is. And for the actual demo submissions, if you're one of the artists, Alex will reach out to you on a DM over Discord, and you can kind of jump in on video and listen through the track with us. And it's a nice way to, if you have follow-up questions or you just want to get some FaceTime or say hey to us, it's optional, but you're welcome to join the stream on video as well. Everything sounds good, Eelke. Question from the audience, from Moonwatchers. Do you ever have to use the restroom if you're DJing 10 hours? Quick set pee break?
It's a good question. It's probably my number one worry when I do long sets is where is the bathroom?
Yeah.
And I always go 5 minutes before my set because you just don't want that somewhere mid set. And you just got to put on a 8-minute record and make a run for it. But it's definitely it's whenever I run into a club that has a backstage toilet like super close to the booth, it's like my favorite place to play.
I'm completely the same way. I think last time I played stereo bar, I think I have a small bladder, or I'm just drinking too much water. I don't drink that much alcohol, but yeah, sometimes on those sets I'll go to the bathroom 2-3 times, and when I come back, like sometimes I'll get like a big cheer, like people like yeah, like he peed, and this kind of thing. Or and it also made me think. I think there's a lot of people who might not actually realize what we do as DJs. And sometimes I think people get very confused when I go to the bathroom, and then when I come back, they're like, "Well, if Atish wasn't there, like twiddling on all the knobs and pressing the buttons, like, is this just like a pre-recorded mix or something?" And for me, I just see that like confused look on people's faces sometimes, and it just makes me think, huh, maybe people don't really understand what's going on back there.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually still I'm more nervous for the first time that I'm doing a live set where I actually need to go to the toilet, and that hasn't happened so far. But
that's good.
I would not want to run into that moment because there's no like 3 minutes to spare and go, So
no. So wanted to talk a little bit about your creative process. I don't know much about your creative process. The only thing I know is that you stand when you produce. So let's start there. Tell me, is this something that you stumbled into, or something you read, or what are the benefits of standing while producing?
No, it was actually a bit of a necessity. A few years ago, I was dealing with some heavy RSI, like first in my wrists, but later in my neck and my back, and everything was starting to hurt. And I've dealt with bouts of RSI over the past 20 years, but it was getting to the point where I thought, if I don't make changes, I can't make music anymore, on a daily basis. So when I rebuilt the studio I thought, let's get everything up to. First, I was hoping for like one of those sit-stand desks that you
Yeah.
can move up and down. But then that turned out to be such a hassle with all the cables and all the
Right.
stuff, that I just had something made at a standing level.
Mhm.
And now I have, like, I'm sitting on a very high stool right now, but I sort of go back and forth between that and standing, like every 2 hours or so.
Got it.
And it works well. Like, I don't get a lot of back issues anymore, no neck issues, and whenever I'm making something good, you start to move and dance
Yeah,
a little
you can
bit. So
actually dance.
yeah.
I come from a world of software, and I used to have those sit-stand desks, and the theory behind standing when writing software was that it actually, your blood flows better, and you feel more alert when standing. And I was wondering, and I've strongly been considering actually switching to a standing for my own production. Aside from the alleviating the RSI issues, has it and the dancing? Do you think it has any effect on your creativity at all, or alertness, or it's the
Not
same?
so much, I
Yeah.
think. No, it's more of a, for me, it was really just dealing with those kind of problems. Um, what I do like is that the studio feels a little bit smaller. I guess if you're in a chair, you want everything in arm's reach, I suppose. And for me, everything is sort of built around me, and I walk around to this device or to that device.
Mhm.
But then also, you always want to be in the sweet spot of your speakers.
Yep.
So you still have to deal with what do you want right in front of you and what can be a little bit further away.
Sure.
And I tried standing the entire day as well, but that really, really hurt my feet after a while. So I gave up on that and went to the sort of intermediate position.
I have the opposite old man problems, which is I have plantar fasciitis, which is my feet get very, very sore and they ache, after
Oh,
standing for too long. So I like, for if I have like extended sets, I'll have like a stool on my rider, or on my rider I have like a floor mat or this kind of thing. So that's why if I went standing desk, it would have to be a sit stand
yeah.
kind of thing.
I,
But
I do have one of those floor mats here as well, like a
yeah,
nice, comfy one that you sort of, because the floor is just, too hard usually.
totally. So let's jump a little bit more into your creative process. The two most interesting things to me when talking to artists about their process is, how do you start and how do you finish a piece of work?
Yeah. I guess the most important thing in my
That
creative.
clipping is back.
Is it back again?
Yeah,
Oh, crap.
maybe we'll just deal with it.
Yeah, I can't hear it myself, so I don't know how
Yeah.
how bad it is. But
It's kind of bad. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd say it's like a 3.5.
yeah, yeah. I mean, if I just let me know when you want me
Yeah.
to log in or out, and then
Yeah, I'll let you know. Yeah, let's actually
okay.
I'll ask the audience. Hey, if anyone who has a chat nearby, how annoying is the clipping to you? Is it worth him kind of restarting every 10, 15 minutes, or do you think it's okay? So let's keep moving forward, and we'll see what people
Yeah,
in the audience say.
yeah. Let me know. I'm happy to jump in and out.
Okay.
um,
So where do you start
but
and how do you finish?
yeah, so I guess how do I start? Like, I like to start ideas on the airplane, actually. That is not my favorite place to produce music, but some of my biggest hits have all been started on airplanes. And I think that's because you don't have all the great equipment, and you don't have all the speakers, and you don't even hear if you put something up by 5 dB or not, so you really get down to the core of what you're making.
The musical
And
idea, fundamentally.
exactly. And so I make some quick sketches on airplanes, usually a bass line, a melody, maybe a couple of hi-hats, and then I tend to finish those at home. And I guess the biggest thing when I'm making music is probably just time. Every track that I do takes months to finish usually. Not that I'm working on it for months per se, but I'll be working on it for a little bit. Then I'll bounce it down to audio, leave it for a month, and then I will go back to it, listen and take notes and say, like, okay, I like this, I don't like that. And I guess I'm trying, with every track, I'm trying to create something stands the test of time, I suppose. And the only way I've found to really do that is to just stretch out the production process, and then it usually over time it becomes clear if this is something that I will still enjoy listening to, years from now.
Got it.
Yeah.
Is it so? What? Lots of follow-on questions. I'll start by. Is it hard for you to decide that something is finished? Is it clear to you, like, or is it like after you've checked all the things off on your notes, like it's done, or is it, do you deliberate or do you ask for feedback from people? I want to drill down a little bit more into that, because for me that's the hardest part. That is the hardest part of the creative process.
No, it is, and it still is, because especially in my, like, now I've been making music for about 20 years. I would say in those first 10 years, a lot of my music was about adding another layer, and then, adding another hi-hat, another layer here and a layer there. And you really build and build and build on this huge, and the whole track becomes this really big thing of tracks, like it wasn't uncommon that I had 100 audio tracks or more in one song. And I feel lately, the last 6 years maybe, I'm really trying to get down to what makes a great song a great song, and I'm trying to strip everything that is not needed. So every little sound, every hi-hat that doesn't really serve its purpose needs to go. And so it becomes harder sometimes to judge whether something is finished, because in my mind I may want to add another effect and another this and another that. But then I listen to other people's music and I'm like, hey, even those top 40 songs, they don't use those risers everywhere.
100%.
It's just about these. So I'm trying to get more down to the core of what makes it a good track. And therefore, I find it a little bit harder lately to really say, like, okay, this is finished or this is not. To answer your question, I do have a couple of people that always listen to my music. My manager is one. I have two friends of mine, Oliver Whiter and Miss Malera. I usually send them demos as well. And then my wife listens to them. And between those four people, if one of them doesn't like it, I'll continue. If two or more don't like it, I will probably stop. And if my manager doesn't like it, I hardly ever continue with the track.
Okay.
His opinion is quite important to me. So I think I've only ever finished one track where my manager was like, well, is this good? Are you really feeling this? And I was like, yeah, I really feel this and I'm going to finish it. But it's only happened once.
Got it. What percentage of tracks that you finish actually see the light of day?
Well, nowadays I would say 90%, but that's because I've become a lot better at judging whether something is good enough to continue with. And then if it's not, I usually stop halfway through the track already. So if I do get to those final stages, 90% of those are probably going to get a release at some point.
I just wanted to double down on a point that you made in the previous question. This is something that I have a mentorship program. This is something I say so frequently to my mentees. I think every producer, or almost every producer I've had on the stream, has said this, which is that last 5 to 10% of the work is usually taking stuff away. And there's this famous quote, which is, I butcher it every time, but perfection is not achieved when there's nothing left to add. It's when there's nothing left to take away. So definitely, everyone watching, it's consistently across the board. Almost every producer is saying the same thing, that finishing is the art of removal, basically.
Yeah. It's how much can you take away without really affecting the impact of the song, because if the more you take away, the more space there is for everything else. So especially the last years, I'm trying to find this balance of, what do I need? What don't I need? And I've noticed also, because I come from a progressive house background, progressive house is very much about, those layers and loops and things. And so that was my production process for the first 10 years, was a lot of it was adding layer upon layer. And only after listening a lot more to other types of music, not even dance, but bands and those kind of things, you start to realize that you don't always need to add something new. You gotta get the most out of the little elements that you have, and work with that.
Absolutely.
It's an interesting way of working for me, because I'm just not used. I wasn't used to work like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's there's technical skills that we learn in our journey. Whether it's how to EQ a kick or how to shape a texture, but there's also the artistic process skills that we learn over time, and that's as important as the technical aspect, which is knowing when to remove something, when to add something, when to dedicate more time into an idea. This is as important as the technical, and it's not as easy to look up the artistic side of things on a YouTube video. It just comes with time, basically, right?
Yeah, and especially when you're looking at examples, and you're looking at producers releasing tracks, the only thing you see is always the end result. You never see the amount of work they spend on that one track, and it could be, I know some people work really fast. I've heard stories of people writing tracks in 1 or 2 days.
Yeah,
I'm incredibly slow, so I need weeks, and I'm always jealous of people that can work that fast.
I'm the same way, and I see these quotes from producers, and they're saying like, Solomon just posted something today. It was his old remix from 12 years ago on Noi Records, and he's like, the best tracks that producers have, or something like that, are flashes of brilliance that get created in 1 or 2 days, and other producers say, like, if your track really isn't on fire by the first 1 or 2 days, then is it really worth completing? And I'm like you, I'm like, I want that to happen to me.
Like, I do agree with that. Like,
Mhm.
if there's for me, it's a fine line. If after 1 or 2 days I feel like it's not going anywhere, rarely ever do I finish that track. But what I often get into is, after I'll have a great idea in 1 day or maybe 2 days, but then getting from that great idea to the finished thing, that's what takes ages for me sometimes. And but I've rarely finished tracks that I was messing. If you're messing with it for days already, like adding things, taking things out, maybe for me it's like the core idea is just not good enough, probably.
Yep, that makes sense. I want to talk to you a little. I want to talk to you a little bit more about your career progress, and how everything went from zero to where we are today. But I think we should also listen to some demos. So, what do you say? We resume that conversation later in the stream, and we start listening to some music.
Sounds good.
Cool. And maybe this is a good opportunity. Maybe if you just want to restart the app, and then we can get rid of that clicking for at least 5 or 10 minutes.
Yes, I will. I'll be right back.
And in the meantime, when Eelke's restarting, next month we have Anya Schneider for Discord Demo Day, and then for May we have Enamor. So definitely stay tuned for these. And if you're not already in my Discord group, you can go to atishmusic.com/Discord. And in that whole server, there's a lot of other conversations around art, music, technology, things for DJs, things for producers. So feel free to join there. And we have Eelke back. And I'm going to assume that his sound is better.
Can you? Is this better?
All is good now. And there's a good suggestion in the chat which says, maybe next time when this happens, let's try a whole phone reboot and see if that just makes the problem completely go. Or is that too risky?
Yeah, it's strange. I don't know. It's not been my day with my internet, because I'm on 5G, because my internet is down at home. So it's just been disastrous. Disaster.
Yeah, that's technology. You can never fully rely on it. But so far we're good now, so let's make use of this time. So let's start with our first track submission. This is... Let me just fix the window ordering here. This is from DJ Ninja. This is called London Blues. And if you're a subscriber on Patreon, I'm bumping all your tracks to the front of the queue, since we won't have enough time to get to all of them. So thank you, DJ Ninja, for supporting me on Patreon. And here we go. You can hear it?
Yep, I can.
I'm just going to jump forward a little bit. Cool. Just in the interest of time, so we can get to the people as possible. All right. Eelke, you want to lead with this one?
Yeah, I like this.
All right, what do you think?
I like this. I always love the combination of guitar and sort of organic elements and dance music. And the first thing that struck me was that sort of played bass line, which I really liked. And then I was happy to hear some guitar parts come in later on as well. So it's a very nice atmosphere. I like this one.
Cool. Yeah, my feedback overall, I think this sounds really, really nice. The groove, super smooth. The track doesn't do too much, and it doesn't have to do too much. I just had like a couple notes at it was kind of the two of my notes were just around transitioning, kind of gluing sections together. I had a note at 1:45, and I actually don't know what the other time I wrote down was. There's lots of typos in there. Just one thing to pay attention to is gluing sections together. One of them is at 1:45. It just kind of took me out of my flow pretty quickly, and maybe the most vanilla way to kind of glue sections together is if you have like a delay tail or a reverb tail or something like that. That's one thing. I had another note at 3:08. I'm just gonna jump there really quick. Yeah, here. Just to me, it felt a little dry. The note that I had was I would like a little more stimulation to keep it flowing and keep it moving. Like, I don't think you need another lead sound. I don't think you need like crazy pads or anything or like a counter melody. But I started kind of just feeling like, okay, like, is something going to happen? Like, what's going on? What I would do in this situation is some kind of textures. Like, it could be like found sounds or some crazy delay, like tape delay thing that you like more for, some crackle or something that's your fingerprint personality on it that just adds a little bit of like ear sprinkle candy behind what's going on. So it just doesn't feel like a loop or predictable arrangement wise, something to keep it flowing and moving. But, were you about to say that, Eelke?
Yeah, one thing I was wondering, I don't know if it's the stream or the track, but I feel like I'm hearing everything in mono. Was the track stereo for you?
One second. I actually don't remember. Let's see. No, it's definitely stereo for me.
Okay, yeah, for me it's mono, because I was going to say I would like to have more things left, right, but it's hard to judge when you're listening to the center. I think I'm listening to a sum down channel maybe or something.
Yeah, it could be. On my end, it says that I am sending stereo and high resolution audio, but yeah, maybe something along the chain is converting it to mono.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm looking at my settings, but it's just for input. It's not for output. But I'll let you know if it's different for the other tracks.
All right, cool. All right, well, overall, yeah, we both like it. Super solid. And no real major feedback points on this. It's just a pretty solid tune overall. So, thanks DJ Ninja for the submission. Thanks for the support on Patreon. She's part of my artist mentorship program. She's one of my mentees, and good things are happening for DJ Ninja. All right, let's jump to the this link is broken. Let's jump to the next submission. Oh dear. Let's see. There's an issue with the URL. Oh man. Let's see what's going on here. Lots of technical issues today. And there we go. Okay. This one is another one of my artist mentees, support on Patreon. Gutspo. This one's called Hypnophobia. Not mixed. All right, here we go. forward, see where it goes. Cool. All right. I'll take the lead on this one. Overall, I think there's a nice foundation here. It's a simple groove, and you have your melody lines that are on top. There's a clear melodic motif, I think, that dung 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 dung, and you definitely there's a focus on that is the melodic idea, and I like how you transform that melodic idea a little bit. I hear it at 150, 154, and then at 303 we have that melodic idea again, but it's transformed with a different texture. So you're kind of breathing some new life into that melodic idea. I think despite that, despite the fact that you did a good job of transforming it, I started getting a little bit bored of that melodic idea around even maybe a little bit before 303. And you did on paper, I think you did some of the things that I would advise someone to do, which is you play with the texture, you evolve it, you morph it a little bit. But two things. One, I want a little bit more evolution of the sound. And second, you start doing an interplay of two melodies with at 407, which is good. I might want more of a call and response with that melody happening earlier in the track. And you can introduce that response kind of melody, later on. So first we hear the dun 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 dun, and then later on you have the response coming in. That will also breathe a new life into your main lead sound. And the third thing around the lead sound is clearly the track is about, to me, it's clear that the track is about that melody, but it doesn't feel like the song is singing that melody confidently, if that makes any sense. It's just kind of like sitting there, kind of hanging out, like doom, 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 doom. I think both in that melody and the overall track, if you want to go in this direction, I think you can push the track a little bit more, build the energy in the percussion, maybe have some supporting elements and the lead sound. Just sing it, like really have it sing. And I think that can elicit a stronger emotional response for me as a listener. But I think there's a good foundation here to work with for sure. Eelke?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think there's two ways you can approach a melody like this, because it's a relatively simple melody, and that's not a bad thing at all. But then I think either you need to have a very standout sound that you haven't heard before and that really manages to get your attention, because some of the best melodies out there can be one or two note melodies. It's just the sound makes it recognizable. So either you go that way, and then you can have that melody very upfront in the mix and in the track and have it play as the main thing, or the way you are doing it now is it's more of a, I don't want to say standard, but like a known sound. And then I would say there needs to be more in the background to sort of, as a listener, you can get lost into. So with progressive house, for instance, it's often there's all these little things you can focus on. And then melodies can be quite simple, but it's only one of those things that make the groove. And if you have it very much up front, it needs to be either a standout melody or a standout sound. But if it's none of those two things, it's gonna come over as a little bit bland.
Yep. Perfect. But hopefully that's helpful to take this tune to the next level. But yeah, simple is good. But if you're going to go simple, make the simple interesting.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Thanks for the submission, Gotspo. Thanks for the support on Patreon. I make this mistake every month, which is I spend a lot of time on the first few tracks and then we don't have enough. So I'm going to start kind of jumping into the middle section of tracks and just kind of listening there so we can get the basic feel for tracks, just so we can try and get to as many people as possible. So this one is from Mazaire. Oh man, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but this is Lost Witness, Happiness Happening. And he's going to actually join us by video.
Nice.
So we're going to try something new. We're going to have the artist kind of hang out during the stream. And if you have any points you want to respond to, you're welcome to, or you can just kind of hang out and see how much you agree or disagree with our feedback. Okay, so I'm gonna jump to the middle here. And also, how do I pronounce your name?
It's
Mazair?
Mazair, yeah.
Mazair. All right, perfect. All right, here we go. Cool. I'm just gonna jump forward a little bit. Oh, we lost Eelke. Oh, let me add him back.
I was thrown out for a second.
Oh, okay. Cool. Awesome. I went first last time, so Eelke, I'll let you go first on this one.
I really like this. Very, very nice. I already liked it before the vocal came in because it has a very sort of nice deep vibe, and then that vocal came in, and I really like that. It reminds me of sort of like old school tunes like Kirsty Horshaw and those sort of things, and that really nice. Yeah, just a really nice track. I like this a lot. I do have to say I saw someone comment on how wide it was, and for some reason I'm still listening mono, unfortunately. I might, the next time I log out and in, I will switch to my Bluetooth headset and see if that takes care of the problem. But
even at least you know what it's going to sound like in a club.
Yes, those are most in mono. It sounded really nice.
Cool. Yeah, I really like this one. I mean, I think everyone in the chat also agrees. Overall, this is super, super nice. My only 2 feedback points, I'm gonna jump to them, is 329. There's this like little follow, ding, 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 ding. It jumped out at me that it's maybe not following the chord progression exactly correctly, but I'm just gonna jump to it actually. Okay, and here it comes. Oh, no, it's okay. I take that back. That was okay. I had another note at 433 also. Everybody's singing, yes, this is happiness happening. Okay, it's fine. Something was off with my brain, but when I hear it a second time, I think that the follow chords sound fine. So then my only feedback on this one is when I got to about to the 5-minute mark, which was just near the end of the breakdown, it started feeling like it was like overstaying its welcome a little bit in the breakdown. Like I was kind of waiting to get. I see Eelke nodding as well. I was kind of waiting to get back into the group. What were you gonna say?
Well, I'm because that sort of vibe that this tune has, it's a bit down, but in a really nice way, and it's a personal preference. But if I hear a track like that, at some point I would like it to almost get rid of those chords for a little bit, and for instance focus on the bass line, and then all of a sudden you get that transition from those sort of down vibes up to where they're gone, and then it can really lift the tune up for a bit. And it only needs to be 30 seconds maybe or so, but it could work well. It doesn't always, but that's just something that came to mind.
Cool. So maybe like take some elements out so that when they come back in there's more impact.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, cool, thank you.
Yeah, right on. But overall, yeah, I don't have much feedback on this. I think this sounds really, really nice. Has this kind of like, someone said, Samaha in the chat said like kind of beach party, just nice, chill, just flowing in the breeze kind of vibe. Yeah, I think you should be proud of this. This sounds really, really good. So nice one.
Yeah,
agreed.
Cool, thank you.
All right. Well, thanks for the submission, and thanks for the support on Patreon as well. Let's jump to the next one. And thanks for joining on video too. That's a new thing I'm trying, and I don't know. I kind of like it. Just feels a little bit more intimate, a little bit more personal, as much as we can do remotely across all over the world. So this next one is by another Patreon mentee of mine. This is Pianika, and this is See You. This is 4 minutes, so let's just listen to the whole thing.
Okay.
Awesome. All right. I'm just going to pause it there. I think, who went first last time? Did I go first last time?
I don't know, but I'd like to say something about this one.
All right, perfect.
Yep. I love those vocals. They're really, really catchy, really smart, like meshed up. And I always like vocals that are used more as an instrument, where you don't necessarily listen to the lyrics anymore. You just listen to the emotion that they convey. And that's done really, really well in this track. So for me, that was the strongest part of the track. I made a little mental note about, I guess about 1 minute, where you've heard the vocals a few times and then a new melody comes in. And for me, that was a little bit too much on the I'm going to say like sweet side. Like everything is super nice and sweet, and my personal preference would probably be if you match those vocals with something sweet, but then at some point slightly more aggressive, maybe. I don't know if aggressive is the right word, but for the contrast, but all in all, those vocals are fantastic and a very, very solid basis for this track, I think.
Yeah, I like this a lot. Very creative idea with the vocals. And what I like about the vocals, you didn't just throw a whole bunch of chopped up parts of the sample in there. The vocals actually have a narrative to them. They kind of have a hook amongst all the feeling of randomness, and you come back to that idea. So I appreciate the narrative that's being told with the somewhat randomness feeling up. That's a really nice touch. My feedback mostly is around the mix. Now this clearly isn't the typical type of music you would hear, on a club night. So these could be artistic choices that you're making with the mix. But that being said, my 2 cents on it is I feel like the vocal and the melodic instruments are, and even some of the kick too, are really fighting for a lot of space in the mids there. And I wonder if there's some room for you to kind of spend a little time on the EQ, kind of carving out some space for them. That's number one. And two, I'm just going to listen to it like, yeah, this could be an artistic choice, but like the hi-hats are like super low in the mix. And if that's the choice you're making, totally fine. But if that's something that you want the audience to hear a little bit more, and if you do bring them up, it's going to add a little more energy to the track. There is room to make the percussion a little bit more prominent, but only if you want. It depends what your artistic intent is here. But I think maybe I feel stronger about the first point than the second one, because I want to be able to appreciate all the individual elements that I'm hearing, because they're all very interesting and unique. But overall, I think this is, a really beautiful track, and it's a very cool idea.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Oh, yes.
I'm gonna quickly log out and in again and switch to my Bluetooth headset, because I really want to listen in stereo. I can't really comment on the mix right now.
Okay.
Because a lot of the things you mentioned, they just don't come through.
Got it.
So I'm gonna see if that changes it. I'll be back in a second.
Cool. All right. In the meantime, I'll get the next track queued up, and let's see. I have some upcoming dates. I've been off the road for a good couple of months, waiting for this Omicron thing to kind of sleep. So this Friday, I'll be in Houston playing Bauhaus. Saturday, returning to Do Not Sit in Miami. That's the 26th. April 1st, very excited about playing Meow Wolf Denver. April 2nd, Spy Bar Chicago. I grew up in Chicago, so I'll definitely have some deep dish pizza. April 15th, I'll be playing Imaginarium in Dallas. April 16th, I'll be playing Walter Warehouse in Phoenix, and then Desert Hearts at the end of April. So, and Eelke is back here, and we are back.
Can you hear me as well?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, excellent.
Cool. All right, let's jump to the next track. This is another Patreon submission. This is Dummy Splash, Colorful Stairs. I'm just going to jump into the middle a little bit here. Oh, can you hear me? Oh, you were just raising the volume.
No, I was just upping the volume. Sorry.
Go ahead. No worries. All right, let's jump right here in this little breakdown. All right, I'm going to jump forward a little bit. Oh, interesting. Right on. All right, I'll open with this one. Overall, I would probably put this in the category. This is like a vibey tune, and so two directions we can go with that one. When I say vibey tune, I mean it clearly evokes a feeling. If I had this kind of on in the background, if I was hanging out at the beach or this kind of thing, I think that would be fine. But when I think about it in the context of a dance music track, and it's also acknowledging it's 100 BPM. My long roundabout way of where I'm going is it's not clear to me like what the track is about until I get to like 435, and that's the lead. And I guess I wanted to know a little bit earlier, unless this is meant to just kind of be a hang in the background kind of tune. I wanted to have a little bit more of an idea of what the track is about earlier, and you don't have to like throw that whole lead down on there. You can hint at it. You can put a couple touches. You can prep the listener with that sound that something is coming that is a lead. But I think for me, it got a little bit too late to saying, "Hey, this is the lead. This is what the singer of the track is about." And when we got there, I think it's cool. It's an interesting, very interesting sound. I'm not sure how to articulate it. I guess I want that part to maybe feel a little bit more alive. The first thing that comes to mind is maybe playing with like different velocities as if it's like a human playing that flute. Like not every note would be struck, with the same, if it's the flute, the same level of intensity. That would be where I would start. Try to make it feel a little bit more human and dynamic. And you can also have some more space between the notes. This is like a famous thing, that jazz musicians talk about. It's not just about the notes that are played, in a jazz solo or improvisational solo. A lot of the most powerful moments in a solo or in a lead are those moments of silence in between the notes. So I think that lead sound is interesting. Maybe toy with muting some of the notes or having it play those notes a little bit less to increase the emotional impact. I think it would increase my emotional impact as a listener. But yeah, those are my top level thoughts initially. Eelke?
I really like the groove on this one. I always like those low pitched sort of sounds, and at one point quite early in the song, the closed hi-hat came in. I don't know if it's even a closed hi-hat, but it's a super low pitched sound, and I like those kind of things. And for me, that it was clear that it was meant for a club, I think, because I really got into that groove. One thing that struck me, and I don't know if it's the stream or if it's the track, but the moments where the kick was out, the volume went up quite a bit, as if the sidechain compression is heavy. Did you get that same feeling?
Not so much.
That first little breakdown, like maybe 2 minutes or something.
This one?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It flattens it.
And that's something I try to avoid. Like if I like sidechaining, I use it all the time, but it feels like the tune opens up in that breakdown, and then because you get used to that volume, it closes the track. And so I think I would counter that with either automation or just with less sidechaining. But if you really want that heavy sidechaining effect, I would use automation to counter for that volume. So that was one thing that really struck me.
Got it. Cool. Any other thoughts on this one, or
No, I quite liked it.
Cool.
It has that like Burning Man vibe, you know. This is the
Yeah.
kind of stuff I imagine I would play there. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely has a desert,
Yeah.
open sky kind of vibe.
Oh
But
yeah.
cool. Yeah. Overall, I agree. I think the vibe is really nice. Elke agrees, and for me, it's just kind of honing in on that lead sound a little bit more. For me, it would make it a bit more exciting. But
Yeah.
thanks for the submission. Thanks for the support on Patreon. And now we're jumping into Moon Watchers. This one is exoplanetary. Exoplanetary, yes. And let's just jump to the middle here. Nice. I don't want to stop it. Super nice. All right, cool. I'm going to stop it because I have to, because we want to get to a lot of people. Elke, you want to lead or should I lead on this one?
No, I can lead.
Go for it.
I quite like this. It sounds really well produced. It has a bit of that Sudbeat sort of vibe. And one thing I really liked is the bass line, how it's playing with the toms as well. So you have the bass line and you have the toms, and then the bass line is going open and close. And I always like if there's a little bit of dynamics in there. And yeah, all in all, it sounds really well produced. I mean, if there's one comment I might have is that there's a lot happening at all times, and I guess sometimes you can reach the same result with less. So you don't need to have an effect or a sound playing all the time. That I guess you can go back to just the groove sometimes. So that's the only point of feedback I would like to make. But apart from that, sounds really well produced, really well done.
Yeah. I don't have much new to add, and maybe just a different color. Like I think I jumped in the middle of the track here. I forgot where it was, but I jumped kind of in the middle of the track, and I'm like, okay, this is cool. And then when you stripped away the elements, I'm like, oh, this is cool. Looks like your video froze, Gunter. But yeah. Once things got stripped away, I was like really, really into the track, and then you had me hooked for a good couple minutes, and then it started feeling like it got. Oh, he's back on. There you go. And then as more and more elements got added back, then it started like losing me a little bit more. So I'm basically in complete agreement with Eelke, which is, as we were talking about at the beginning of the stream, I think you're at that point now between now and finishing the track is seeing how much you can ruthlessly remove, and keep removing. And as long as you still have the essence, then you're done at that point. But you're almost there, and this is really, really nice. What really got me was this new sound comes in like right after the break. Yeah, I loved it. Right after the break, this new thing came in, and it was really, really nice. But I have overall a positive feeling on this. Remove stuff, and then you're there.
Definitely, yeah.
Cool. Good stuff. Too bad you had some technical issues. Looks like maybe some connection issues, but thanks for trying to join in on video, experimenting with this new aspect of the stream. So that does it for all the Patreon submissions. So now let's jump into the non-Patreon submissions. Thank you everyone for supporting me on Patreon. If you would like to jump to the top of the queue next month, you can go to patreon.com/atishmusic. And if you support me there, I'll guarantee you that your spot gets reviewed on the stream. So now for this one, let's hear Juna, Follow the Feeling. And I'm going to jump to the middle right here. Cool. Okay, I really want to keep listening to this, but I think I think we both have an idea of what's going on here. I'll start with this one. This is a sick groove. Like really, really. I mean, both Eelke and my heads were just like bobbing. Really, really nice groove. I mean, I would definitely be enjoying this in a club. It's a nice, solid club groove. And you have like it's a pretty simple idea. Your bass interplay, boom, 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 and then I think you do a really good job of like milking that idea. You add your ride cymbal, then you add your percussion on top, and then the shakers on top, and this and that. Like I think this is a great example of just milking an idea. It's an idea that's fundamentally really, really strong, and then you just support it so well, and it keeps moving and evolving, and it shines different dimensions on that idea. So, hats off on that. My only, in my opinion, I think your foundation and the middle are there. I think the last chunk, when I jumped into the track, like here, I actually, similar to the previous track, I didn't love it initially, and I think it was because it might be a mixing issue, or maybe there was too much going on, but it was like, okay, this is like cool. I have an idea of what's going on here. And then when everything got stripped away, then I'm like, fuck yes. Like now I really, really like it. So one of two things, either the same thing that, we say for other tracks, the art of stripping things away, and two, maybe spend a little time focusing on the mix and carving out space for all the elements to really interplay against one another. But overwhelmingly awesome. This is probably my favorite track of the day so far.
Yeah, I'm hearing some really nice deep influences. It's kind of dubby as well, with all those like echo bouncing back and forth. So I pretty much agree with what you said. I'm still like the headset didn't fix, so I'm still listening in mono. One thing that struck me is some of the sounds were quite reverby, but also in the high end, and I mean, it can be by choice, but I always try to strip the high end from reverb often. Otherwise, you get a bit of that aquarium thing, like everything's playing in an aquarium. And I mean, some musical styles they build on that, but I like it if it has the depth, but not necessarily that aquarium aspect, So if I could give one tip, it's back off a little bit on the reverb, or cut off the high end from the reverb, either going in or out of it.
Yeah, that sounds good. But overwhelmingly, just I don't even think you had to say anything, Eelke. I just saw your head bobbing. You were feeling the groove too on this one.
Very nice groove, yeah. And you're right. Like when the track went back to its core just after the breakdown, that's when it really starts to shine.
Yeah. Awesome. Great one. Let's jump to the next one. This is Ross Escape. I'll just jump right here. just gonna pause it. I just want to hear what's happening in the beginning. And oh, we lost Eelke Kleijn, so it's just me. Oh, and he's back. Welcome back.
Yeah, I got kicked out.
Cool. I'll let you go first on this one.
Yeah, I like this melodic idea, and it shows that you don't need a super complicated melody or chord change to create something memorable. It's a very nice sort of happy melody, but it puts you in a good mood, and I quite like that. Um, what I never like so much are those spoken vocals in the breakdown. It's a very personal thing because I know a lot of people use them, but I feel it doesn't really add much to the tune. And I would almost say like I would have rather heard a nice pad or something or a string there to complement the melody and to open up the track a little bit, because now it feels like you build up with this really nice melody, and then you have the vocal in the breakdown, and then we sort of go back to the same part where we were before, and I would like it to go up a little bit more from there. But I think the basic idea is definitely there, and it doesn't need that much to go towards a finished track, I think.
Yeah. I love this really, really nice feeling. Agree with everything Eelke said. I wrote something down. So just an extension on the vocal line. Artistic choice if you want to include the vocal line or not. But I think the way it's included here is it's not included confidently. It's like kind of buried. I can hear there's a vocal. I can't really hear what he's saying. So I think either just commit to letting the audience hear what the vocal is saying, or just drop it and do what Eelke said.
Yeah.
Bass is nice. Actually, no, I'm gonna leave the comments. I say leave the bass as is. Super nice. The only thing I would maybe suggest playing with is the reason I wanted to jump around a little bit after we were done is maybe we could give the listener a break from that lead sound, because I think it goes for quite a long time throughout the break when the drop comes. Honestly, I never got sick of it, to be honest, but you might be able to increase the impact of that lead if you give the ears a break from that lead for a little while. So something just to play around with. But overall, really, really gorgeous track. Nice work. I like it a lot. All right. So we're at the hour and a half mark. Eelke, I know you have a flight to Miami at 6 a.m. tomorrow, so I just want to be respectful of your time. How are you doing?
No, I'm good. We can do another 20 minutes or so. I'm good. Yeah.
20 minutes.
That's just before 10, and that's my I gotta pack up and get to bed, I think.
Perfect. I know the feeling. I do wanted to spend a couple minutes because I always find these questions interesting, and given our audience is mostly up and coming DJs and producers, you've been doing this for 20 years. I'm not sure how you started, but assuming you weren't breaking out as a superstar from the gate, and now you've come to a point where you're DJing all over the world, you have millions of plays on Spotify, you're running your own label which has a lot of attention, you've done massive remixes. What did your journey look like going from, I'm assuming, let's say the bedroom, to kind of breaking out of your home city and then going to the next level? Is that your career journey?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Well, not overnight. That's for
Mhm.
sure. It's funny. Like some people have a career that like literally takes off almost vertical. Mine was sort of with steady growth all over those years, I think. And for sure, there have been a couple of moments that were really important. And I guess I just started. My first release was back in 2003. And I was doing a little bit of progressive house at the time, but actually a lot of trance music under different names. And that was sort of, I look at those years, 2003 to 2006 and 7, sort of as almost as practice years. Like I was, even though I was releasing music, I felt like I was learning everything at the time. Um, and a couple of things were really important. You need to get a break at some point. So I guess my break was when Nick Warren put one of my tracks on his Global Underground Paris compilation. That was 8-bit era, and that was in
What year was it?
2006.
Okay.
And because that was on Global Underground, that sort of made the connection with the label. And so in 2007, I was able to do my artist album on Global Underground, and that was, you know, another one of those sort of moments that really helped. But all in all, it's just been just continued work. Like I've never really had a period where I stopped writing music or I stopped working. So for one, I've always been working hard, but that's not even 50% of it. I think the rest is getting a break, getting a bit of luck here and there. Like I have an amazing manager who's been with me since 2007, so almost 15 years this year.
Wow.
And he's had a large hand in the success also. You know, it's never one person, it's always the team around as well. So it's hard to pinpoint one exact thing, but it's a combination. You need to have a little bit of luck, you need to have great people around you, and you need to, you know, just have the opportunity to continue working hard on music and on everything music related.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think what you said, I completely agree with. I think there's 3 pillars to success, which is hard work, luck, and a network. You know,
Yeah.
and if you can excel at, I think, at least 2 out of those 3, you know, I think you're on your way to you know, having an edge as far as, you know, moving forward. How did your, actually no, just in the interest of time, I'll jump to just one more question, which is, if you were a producer today, let's say one of the producers submitting something on Discord Demo Day, and you know, you're making tunes at home, and maybe you're not gigging all over the world, maybe you're playing local gigs, what would your advice be to someone who wants to make, you know, something for themselves or build a career, you know, as a producer or DJ in the scene? What are the high level takeaways that someone should think about?
It's something that I wish, well, probably people told me, you know, 20 years ago, but I might not have taken it that seriously. But the one thing that I feel is the most important is quality over quantity. You know, you can do 20 tracks a year, but if they're all sort of average or even just, you know, better than average, it still might not make an impact, because there's, just look at Beatport, at the amount of tracks getting released on a daily basis is insane. So to really get noticed, you need to make something that really stands out. And you see a lot of producers nowadays, like the ones that do make it quickly, are often the ones that are not per se releasing a lot of music, but they have like one track or one remix that really became a big hit. And you can have, even if you only have 2 or 3 of those tracks a year, that'll be enough to build a career on. So I would say quality over quantity is the most important thing at the start of your career.
Awesome. Yeah, I think I appreciate, or sorry, I appreciate that, and I agree with that as well. So thanks for your input. We're getting a little bit of crackle. Maybe do you want to sign out and sign in, and I'll just queue up the next track?
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool. All right, this next one is from Len Walker. This track is called, the track doesn't have a name yet, but we'll have one in the future. If that is the actual name of the track, that's a great, if that is the actual name of the track, that's a great meta name for a track as well. On a personal, I'm a fan of Len Walker's music. There's one track of his called Dudes, and I just played the hell out of it, and I still play that track a lot. Go look that up, Len Walker Dudes. It's a monster tune that I just love. So let's jump into Len Walker, the track that doesn't have a name yet, but we'll have one in the future. Let's jump right in. Nice. Lovely. Woo! Sick. See this mini break? Oh, that's not a break. Cool. Okay. Just in the interest of time, I want to keep listening, but I'll just go. Yeah, love it. Like classic Len Walker right here. Like nice groove, beautiful piano. Love the chord changes. I love the break. I love the fake out. My overall, this is an A. I think for me to take it from like an A to an A plus is in the breakdown. There's that little like synthesized trumpet sound or ding, 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 that's in like the jazz scale or the blues scale. Two directions you can go. One, I like that it sounds kind of cheap, like almost kind of like a cheap synthesizer. I think that's like super cool if that's the choice, but I think it could use a little more presence. That it could be more forward in the mix or open the filter or something. Or two, if you want to go with this vibe, you could hire a live trumpet player. You could use a site like soundbetter.com, or maybe there's someone in your network. Something to play around with. Maybe use a real trumpet. That could be kind of interesting, and it could really add. And you already have the piano, which is like an actual acoustic instrument. If you have a trumpet in there too, could be really, really interesting. Fiverr, someone saying. But overall, this is an A. Whenever this is finished, please send it to me because I will definitely be playing this in my sets.
Yeah, I agree with you very much. I really liked that. I wasn't in the beginning. I wasn't sure where it was going to go, and then I heard that bass line come in, and I was like, oh yeah, I like this deep bass. And then the groove came in, and that was just really good. So lovely groove. I like that sort of Indian percussion sound that keeps on going through the track. Very catchy. I was also gonna comment on that synth line. Um, I didn't think about your suggestion, like have it recorded by someone with a trumpet, for instance. That would be a good one. My initial suggestion was get rid of it, because if I would get this as a promo, for instance, that would probably be the reason I would leave this track. And that's just being brutally honest, but I feel it kind of takes this cool track and pushes it a little bit towards elevator music, sort of in a. I don't want to be too rude, but so that would be a reason, like if I get this as a promo, not to play it. Everything else for me was great.
Awesome.
Yep.
Cool. Thanks for the submission, Len. Let's keep moving forward. This one is by Freefall. This is Hampy Mushrooms, and let's just jump to the middle and power through. All right, I'm just going to jump forward a little bit. All right, cool. Eelke, you want to lead on this one?
I'll let you lead. I'm curious what you have to say.
Oops. I feel like there's okay, the lead with the vocal, super strong. I think that's great. I think when the vocal is in there and there's the music underneath, that's cool. Now when that's happening, I would have that happen much earlier in the track, because to me that feels like that's what the track is about. Because everything up until that point, I was waiting. I felt like it was a lot of like build up. I was waiting to see like what is the essence of this track, and then it hit me like, you know, around the 5 or 6 minute point. So one, I would get to the essence of the track earlier, and two, it almost feels like there's a filter on the low end. My ears are just wanting this track to pump a lot more. So I would bring the bass and the kick up a little bit, because I think this could kind of push a little bit harder. But aside from the mixing, I think I would move that vocal section more towards the middle, and maybe even play with removing some elements and just not having it loop underneath the vocal, because I got a little bit tired of it near the end of it. So yeah, move it to the middle, change some of your perk layers to have the vocal kind of feel more alive, and then work your arrangement around building up to the vocal and carrying the energy when the vocal is finished. I think this is an arrangement game.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. In the breakdown, the bass line or bass/lead sound was by itself for quite a long while, where I was sort of waiting, like, what's going to happen, and then, you know, the vocal complements that. The best part for me was also after the breakdown, where you have that vocal in play, and, you know, everything else builds around that. And I think you're right. I think this is mostly an arrangement thing, getting the arrangement right.
Yep. Cool. Let's do. Thanks for the submission, Freefall, and let's do one last tune. Then I'll let you go and pack and get ready for your trip overseas. This one is Vidau, "Sympathy for the Dreamer," and I think he might join on video too. But let's just get right in. trying to find a point to stop, but more and more keeps coming. Cool. All right.
Yeah, definitely. I think the bass is very strong. It's a nice chord progression. It's got a very nice, uplifting, sort of happy feel, but in a good way. I think the track is actually almost there. The one thing, it's funny, like there's a lead in the beginning that's that sort of jumpy sound. It does the pitch glides and everything. And I felt like it was maybe gliding a little bit too much, or it was starting to annoy me. But then after the breakdown, that sound doesn't come back, and I'm starting to miss it. And I would actually suggest using that also after the breakdown more prominently, but maybe not just using glides to sort of make it interesting, but trying to look at timing or delay tricks or all kinds of little tricks to make that sound stand out more, and cut back a little bit on the glides, I think, because it feels like you're trying to get the changes mostly from the glides now, and I would suggest trying to find all kinds of other ways to make that sound interesting. But it for me, it was the lead of the track more or less, and then it doesn't come back after the breakdown. So I don't know if that was the same for you, Atish.
Yeah, I was, I mean, on the note of the lead, there were so many ideas and elements coming in, kind of evolving. Yeah, it was never like fully clear to me, what the lead was either. So yes, long story short, I do have agreement there. My feedback was, well, one, I had to keep playing with the volume level because I think, obviously this hasn't been mastered yet, but there are points when a lot of elements are kind of going on at the same time, especially in the mid highs to the highs. They're all fighting for space. And okay, I'm curious what your opinion is. On one hand, there's constantly conversation around, minimizing the elements and having everything having space for each other. But one of my guests, Tosh, he loves maximalism. He loves the idea of just throwing as much as you can in there, and it just kind of, descends into this, or ascends into this big thing, which kind of worked here because you took us on that surprise turn after the breakdown when it's stripped down, which was like really, really cool. So I haven't formed my opinion on it, but I'm actually curious, Eelke, what you think. Do you think there's too much going on, when there's too many layers going on, or do you think it worked for this kind of idea?
I think it worked for this kind of idea. I almost felt like it got stripped back a little bit too much after the breakdown, even. That was my initial reaction, and then it did build up quickly again. I do have to say, I do find it hard listening to the mix because I'm still listening in mono, so I'm not really getting that sense of how busy it actually is, I feel like you have a better judgment on that, probably.
Sure. It feels pretty busy to me. Yeah. But all that being said, Vidu, I think this is a great track. I think fundamentally there's a lot of great ideas in there. I don't think there's a lot of work to do from this point. It sounded really nice, and I think it's had a nice fitting kind of closing track of a set kind of vibe, epic, positive, and I'm feeling good. So it's a nice way to end it. So thanks for the submission.
That's fun because at the beginning, the lead sound, like it was like at the beginning of the song, and then after the break. So maybe I just redo it like with the. I just put it back like where sorry, my English is not very good.
It's okay. No problem.
But maybe I'm going to like make the lead sound again like after the break to try it out.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's funny like listening like this because I'm listening in mono like we talked before. It feels like I can't really hear the mix that well, but it does take me to the core of the track very well. And I felt in the beginning like that sound was the most important one, was sort of telling the story. And then I kept waiting for it to come in at the end. And then when you paused the music, it was just before a fill. and then it didn't even get in there, and I thought, oh, it's probably not going to get in, anymore at all. And yeah, I did miss it afterwards.
Okay. Thanks,
Cool.
Dave.
Thank you. Thanks for the submission.
welcome.
Great music, and looking forward to seeing where this goes.
Thank you.
All right, so that wraps it up for this month's Discord Demo Day. Eelke, thanks so much for tuning in. I know you have a ton of stuff going on, including a wife and child, and going on tour tomorrow. But really appreciate your ears. Really appreciate your time. I'm looking forward to when we can cross paths in person again next and hang out. And to everyone who submitted demos. Sorry we didn't make it to all of them. Especially with Eelke as a guest, we had, I think this was the most submissions I ever had. So I say this every month, but even if your track didn't get featured for feedback, just putting your track out there and making yourself open and vulnerable to have two people criticize your music on a live stream, that's a victory in itself. And fundamentally, that's the most important way that we improve, which is being open to feedback and putting ourselves out there in all aspects of artistry. How'd you feel, Eelke?
Nice. And actually, to say something about it, taking critique is the most difficult thing there is. It's like if someone critiques my track, it feels very feels difficult, So, but being able to listen to that with an open mind and make changes accordingly is also a very powerful tool. So I got better at taking critique over the years, Like 20 years ago, I would have none of it, and nowadays I take it quite seriously. So it's but it was fun, just listening to music and giving some thoughts on it.
Awesome. Yeah, well, we all appreciate your feedback, and it was really valuable, and especially coming from your perspective and your storied history, you have a lot of history to bring to the conversation around helping people improve. So we all thank you for that. Thank you for your time, and wishing you a safe flight tomorrow. And for everyone who's tuned in, stay tuned. Next month, I have Anya Schneider as my guest, and then in May, I have Enamour as my guest. So I'm kind of excited to have an old school legend one month, and then an up and comer who's really making waves the other month. And I'm excited about having this the range of guests. So both months are going to be great. Excited to have your demos. atishmusic.com/discord if you want to join the community. And catch you all next week. Thanks for tuning in.
Cool. Thanks everybody. Thanks.